In this in-depth video, we explore the ongoing escalation of the US-China trade war and its significant impact on global economies. Focusing on Vietnam's strategic position in the midst of this high-stakes economic conflict. As tariffs rise and trade tensions intensify, Vietnam has emerged as a critical player in the global supply chain, benefiting from shifting production networks while facing unique challenges and risks. We delve into the current situation, examining how Vietnam has positioned itself as a key beneficiary of trade diversions, attracting foreign investments and boosting exports to major markets like the US. However, we also discuss the growing pressures, ranging from accusations of transshipment to the infrastructural and geopolitical challenges Vietnam faces in navigating between two economic giants. The video covers the economic opportunities Vietnam can leverage amid the trade war, the risks and challenges associated with overdependence on US and Chinese markets, how Vietnam's strategic geopolitical position offers potential benefits, recommendations for Vietnam's long-term strategy to thrive in this complex global landscape. Watch now to understand where Vietnam stands in the context of the US-China trade war and what the future holds for this rising economic powerhouse. The US-China trade war erupted in 2018, stemming from long-standing tensions over trade deficits, technology access, and competitive structures between the world's two largest economies. The United States imposed tariffs on hundreds of billions of dollars worth of Chinese goods in an effort to pressure Beijing into changing its trade practices, while China responded with retaliatory measures. The escalating tariff battle severely disrupted global supply chains, prompting multinational corporations to restructure their production and distribution networks. Amid this upheaval, Vietnam emerged as an attractive alternative destination, thanks to its competitive labor costs, strategic geographic location, and policies promoting deep economic integration. However, this shift has also placed Vietnam at the heart of complex flows of trade, investment, and conflicting interests, exposing it to unprecedented challenges in the modern global trading system. Current situation. In the wake of the US-China trade war, Vietnam has experienced a surge in foreign direct investment, FDI, as companies seek to diversify their manufacturing bases and mitigate tariff risks. Exports from Vietnam to the United States have grown substantially, making the U.S. one of Vietnam's largest export markets. Sectors such as electronics, textiles, and furniture have particularly benefited from the shifting trade dynamics. However, this rapid expansion has exposed structural vulnerabilities. Vietnam's heavy reliance on the U.S. market increases its susceptibility to external shocks, while concerns over origin fraud, where Chinese goods are rerouted through Vietnam to avoid tariffs, have drawn scrutiny from U.S. authorities. At the same time, infrastructure bottlenecks, labor shortages in key industries, and relatively low value-added production capacities pose serious challenges to sustaining growth. Moreover, as global supply chains realign, Vietnam faces growing competition from other emerging economies in Southeast Asia. The country must now navigate a delicate balance, leveraging the opportunities presented by global trade shifts while safeguarding its economic sovereignty and maintaining a neutral stance amid intensifying geopolitical rivalries. challenges and difficulties. Despite its remarkable gains amid the US-China trade conflict, Vietnam faces a complex web of challenges that could undermine its long-term prospects if not addressed carefully. First, the risk of trade tensions extending to Vietnam itself is significant. Accusations of transshipment, where Chinese goods are falsely labeled as Vietnamese to bypass U.S. tariffs, have led to threats of stricter trade inspections and potential punitive measures against Vietnamese exports. Without rigorous enforcement of rules of origin and supply chain transparency, Vietnam could become entangled in future trade disputes. Second, the country's infrastructure, while improving, remains under strain. Ports, roads, and industrial parks in key regions are increasingly overloaded, and logistics costs are higher compared to regional competitors, reducing overall investment efficiency. Labor shortages, particularly in skilled manufacturing sectors, further limit Vietnam's ability to move up the value chain. Third, Vietnam faces the classic middle-income trap challenge. While low-cost manufacturing has driven rapid growth, sustaining momentum requires a shift toward higher-value industries such as advanced manufacturing, technology, and services. However, the current education and innovation ecosystems are still developing, making this transition difficult. Finally, intensifying geopolitical competition between the US and China places Vietnam in a precarious position. Aligning too closely with either power risks political and economic backlash from the other, while maintaining a strictly neutral stance requires exceptional diplomatic skill and strategic foresight. These external pressures, combined with internal structural weaknesses, make Vietnam's path forward both promising and perilous. Risks and opportunities. Vietnam's ascent during the US-China trade war is accompanied by both significant risks and transformative opportunities. On the risk side, Vietnam's increasing dependence on external markets, particularly the United States, exposes it to vulnerabilities arising from shifts in trade policy, protectionism, or global economic downturns. A sudden tightening of trade regulations, currency fluctuations, or new tariff barriers could disrupt Vietnam's export-driven growth model. Furthermore, an overconcentration in low-cost, labor-intensive manufacturing industries risks locking Vietnam into a narrow economic structure, leaving it vulnerable to automation trends and rising wage pressures. Environmental risks also loom large. The influx of foreign investment, if not properly managed, can strain natural resources, increase pollution, and trigger social tensions, potentially undermining sustainable development goals and harming Vietnam's global reputation. On the opportunity side, Vietnam is well positioned to capture higher value segments of global supply chains. Strategic sectors such as electronics, renewable energy, and information technology present avenues for upgrading industrial capacity and fostering innovation. Vietnam's network of free trade agreements, FTAs, including CPTPP, EVFTA, and RCEP, offers unprecedented market access, enabling diversification beyond China and the US. Additionally, Vietnam's relatively stable political environment, commitment to reform, and growing reputation as a reliable manufacturing hub enhance its attractiveness to multinational corporations seeking to hedge geopolitical risks. If Vietnam can simultaneously invest in education, technology, infrastructure, and institutional transparency, it stands a real chance of transcending its traditional role as a low-cost factory and emerging as a dynamic middle power in the global economy. Strategic recommendations. In light of the complex challenges and promising opportunities, Vietnam must adopt a multi-pronged strategy to ensure sustainable growth and resilience amid escalating global tensions. First, strengthening its institutional framework is critical. Vietnam needs to improve its regulatory environment, ensuring transparency and enforcing rules of origin rigorously to prevent accusations of trade manipulation. This would help safeguard its position in the global value chain and preserve access to key markets. Second, investing in infrastructure must be prioritized. Modernizing ports, transport networks, and logistics capabilities is essential to avoid bottlenecks that could undermine Vietnam's competitiveness. Enhanced connectivity across the country will also support regional economic development and attract higher quality foreign investments, particularly in technology-driven sectors. Third, Vietnam should accelerate its efforts to move up the value chain. While low-cost manufacturing has been a key driver of its economic growth, shifting focus to high-tech industries such as electronics, renewable energy, and AI-driven innovation is crucial. To achieve this, the government should invest in education, research and development, R&D, and vocational training, cultivating a skilled workforce capable of meeting the demands of a rapidly changing global economy. Moreover, maintaining a balanced foreign policy that capitalizes on Vietnam's neutrality while fostering strong partnerships across regions is paramount. Vietnam should deepen its engagement with ASEAN countries, expand trade relations with the European Union, and solidify its position in regional agreements such as RCEP and CPTPP. This approach will allow Vietnam to navigate geopolitical risks while diversifying its economic ties. Finally, Vietnam must focus on sustainable development. This includes promoting green technologies, ensuring responsible resource management, and addressing environmental concerns associated with rapid industrialization. By doing so, Vietnam can enhance its global competitiveness while aligning with the growing demand for sustainability in international trade. Thank you for watching. Trade war escalates. Where does Vietnam stand? If you found this video meaningful, please like, share it with others who may benefit from these insights, and subscribe to our channel Eastern Wisdom Today. By joining our community, you'll stay connected to more videos. Thank you for your support, and we look forward to sharing more with you soon.